So, what are the dangers of sexual abuse in the church? And one of them are, well, there's a lot of them, but I think we got to look at some of these things, right? Number one, there is an immediate and long-term impact on the victims. It doesn't matter if it's in the church or outside the church. These are some of the most devastating things. That's why sexual immorality in the church or anywhere is the most destructive thing, because sexuality is a spiritual, sacred sin, right? It's different than any other sin. So the immediate and long-term effects on victims. Number one, you get a severe psychological damage. Victims frequently experience long-lasting depression, severe anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, and profound mistrust of others. Spiritual devastation, because the abuse is committed by a religious authority figure. Victims often suffer unique spiritual damage, leading to a confusion about faith and a distorted view of God, and then the alienation from spiritual communities, the community of the church. It doesn't mean a community like what Straitway is living on. We live in each community can be anything. It can be a church where you work, all that. So just knock it off with this community crap. Interpersonal and social struggles. Survivors often face ongoing difficulties with personal relationships, social functioning, and later on, intimacy later in their life, especially in a sexual nature. And that's why it's so important that we guard sexual integrity, the sexual union, we guard the family and everything about it, because the danger is so much there. Here is the part that makes me angry, and all the rest, is when you have institutional and community cover-ups. There's a betrayal of sacred trust. Perpetrators use their spiritual authority, their religious devotion, and the inherent trust of families to groom victims and manipulate caregivers. There's a culture of secrecy and cover-ups. Religious institutions have historically risked member safety by prioritizing organization reputation over transparency, often silencing victims, failing to report incidents to civil authorities, or quietly reassigning abusive leaders. It happens all the time, guys. We'd rather cover up something than we would expose it. But this is not the sin that you cover up. This is the one you expose. Okay? I'm talking about what the perpetrators have done. Okay, we'll talk about sexual abuse in a different and the victims later on. I've already done a video series on that. Maybe I should repost it. But anyway, erosion of community faith. When abuse is mishandled or covered up, it shatters the trust in the faith of the broader congregation, because it divides the community and it discredits the moral authority of God and the moral authority of the institution. This is why it's so important, folks. When you see these people in these organizations, that you hold them accountable. You do not allow them to get away with what they're doing. Sexual perversion, sexual immorality is evil. It's wicked. It hurts people, and it when it's done to another person, it is the most vile thing in the world. That's why people that have been raped horribly, they go through so much trauma, no matter what happens. A good example of this is Theron Fleury, the famous Calgary Flame, New York Ranger hockey player. He wrote a book, Playing with Fire. He talks about the abuse at the hands of the abuse of what he went through as a hockey player. It happened even in hockey. And hockey, it's one of the best sports in the world, the best people in the world. Hockey moms and dads are some of the best people in the world, but even in hockey it happens. So if it can happen in hockey, it can happen anywhere. And it can happen in the church. And oftentimes, whenever it happens, just like in the hockey world, it gets swept under the carpet. But if you read his book, Playing with Fire by Theron Fleury, he talks about what that abuse did to him. This is a man who made millions and millions and millions of dollars. and yet it destroyed his life, all because it was not dealt with. And then when he finally got it dealt with and he spoke out about it, well, then that set him free. And he's an advocate for dealing with sexual abuse and the dangers of it. So, folks, flee all sexual immorality. Flee all of it. For all of it will put you into the pit of hell. When I say the pit of hell, I'm talking the pit of hell in your mind. Just because somebody did something to you doesn't mean that you're going to hell. But these people that do this to people and that they abuse people, these sexual abusers, yeah, that's what hell is for. Remember, stick to the plumb line. You're going to need it.